Hey, cunts, don't forget to click the subscribe button. And one of the things that I apparently have been forgetting to mention to you, when you're at these big meetings, you have joint toilet breaks. Joint. In other words, it's time to take a piss, everybody. You all go to the toilet. Not you leave to get on your phone, not you leave. Joint toilet breaks. And now I'm told that that's politically incorrect. You can't tell a person when he's got to pee. Well, if you're going to be in a meeting with me, I'm going to tell you when you got to pee, because I don't want you getting together, being able to get outside information, or forming your own opinion, which is foreign to what we're trying to accomplish, even at the meeting. So joint toilet breaks, the famous one is when I put this hat in the middle of the room, closed all the doors, and said, this is our urinal, as they say. All the gals left. No, not one gal would take a pee in it. We had a few guys, and then we started peeing in the trash cans, and it was a different hat. Yes, it's a different hat, so it's not, yeah, because deals can fall apart within your own, and that's why I asked you about your board. Is there a curmudgeon in there that just want to fuck it up just for fun? His fun, not your fun. And but he already said that he goes around to the board members and gets which way they're going to vote, and it's going to be positive. So then by the time you actually take the vote, it's just a matter of fact.
Pitch them separately.
Yeah. Everybody individually, separately. And then by the time the board vote comes up, it's just a matter of fact that you're all going to do it, vote. And we like unanimous votes. We don't like people that abstain. We don't like people, etc. Occasionally, somebody will say he can't be there, so he'll probably give Roberto the proxy or something like that. That's okay. But you've got to control the vote, guys. I mean, it's really important. Okay, now what are you've heard 4 presentations. Takeaways generally from all of you about any one of the 4 or all the 4 together. What have you learned? And I'm still going to comment about when you send out the executive summary. I haven't forgotten. Okay, but commentary on the first of all, the presentation skills weren't bad. They were pretty good, better than last year's. But I handpicked you the first ones. So last time I didn't. Last time I let you pick yourselves and left your own devices. There's a great commercial on TV right now, and they've got a young 10, 11, 12-year-old girl playing on a machine, and it says something to the effect, children left to their own devices stay with their own devices, and then they show the same girl, like not a crack whore, but I mean, but not that you'd want your daughter to look like. Okay, and of course, then I got to qualify that probably. But most people wouldn't like their daughter to look like that. But there's some people that would like their daughter to look like that, right? So comments about the presentations. Clear, pretty understandable. And that's how clear it's got to be to the financial institutions. Clear, actually. That's how clear, at least at a minimum, it's got to be when you're talking to your board members. That's how clear it's got to be when you're talking to the potential sellers, no matter how motivated they are. What you say has got to make sense, okay? Now, what makes sense to a mom and pop that keep their cash in a cigar box is not going to be the same thing that makes sense to, a reasonably sophisticated seller or somebody that, is looking to take advantage. Now, the sellers don't consider it malfeasance or fraud when they don't give you all the facts. They consider that part of the selling process. They're trying to put their best foot forward, their best face forward. And that normally is without all 100% of the facts, because there's good facts and bad facts in every deal. What you want is a preponderance of good facts. And but occasionally, as was mentioned earlier, there's hair on deals, meaning they're not clear cut, they're not black and white. And the more experience you get, the better you'll get at differentiating. Now, one of the decisions that you're at now, because you're doing due diligence now, who does the DD? Does your board and or your professionals outside, accountants and lawyers? And that's really dependent on the level of work that your board's willing to do, and boots on the ground, looking at the assets, etc., and their real expertise. That's why I always say we should have at least 2 industry experts. Even 3 is not bad, because your transaction lawyer, your transaction accountant, your CEO, and your CFO may not have as much experience in that particular area, and may lead you astray. Say something. Oh, you're just leaning forward. Okay. So but for a deal for $1.5-2 million or less, your board should be able to do the due diligence. Now, if and that's on a seller finance deal, absolute. But if it's a bank tied with a commercial bank, in other words, 50% seller finance, 50% commercial bank, the bank is going to want some level of quality of earnings. In other words, how good are these numbers? Are they worth a shit or not? Then they're not going to probably just allow your board members to opine that this is an okay deal. They're going to want to have your outside accountants come in. And that's one of the questions I always ask. Well, as I told you when I was on the board call yesterday, are the red flags enough if you were advising a bank on quality of earnings to kill the deal? And the accountant said no. They're just red flags. They're just red flags. And a lot of times the accountants pull up flags that really aren't red, they're really only amber, but they're so fucking afraid of getting sued, they make it a red flag. So based on your experience, your 200 years of experience on your board, you'll be able to ascertain whether this is really a fucking potential big hiccup or it's just a little speed bump. And that's, if you ask the question of your accountants, would this, if you were doing this for B of A, would you kill the deal? And the answer was no. So they weren't really red flags, they were just amber flags. But the information is, you want a preponderance of the information. I don't mean 50.1. I mean a great preponderance of the information and the facts to be positive. To be positive. Occasionally, because this is not a turnaround model. We're not turning around shit. We can turn around because the model works well with keeping focused and all that stuff for turnaround. But these are entities that when you tell the bank, the numbers will always make sense. I'll never bring you a deal that doesn't pencil, meaning where cash flow covers debt service. And 2 or 3 times, not just 1.25 times. Everybody understand what I just said? Okay, now are there any comments on any of the 4 presentations that we've had so far? Yes, sir.
In Gerard's case, his chairman was, he was primarily responsible, I think, for putting that deal together. I mean, his chairman was
a powerhouse.
Great. Yeah, it was just...
Remember, I told you when you're putting boards together, you don't want to have to explain about these gals or guys. Meaning, if in the industry they're not a known commodity, then they're probably not the right things. But that being said, these boards are boards in transition. Now, Roberto's case is slightly different because it's been around a while, and some of the same board members you got now were the same board members from before. Okay. And he did a more or less a classic LBO, leveraged buyout, where he was the benefactor. Great. But most of the time, the board members are going to be there for your first deal. You didn't know them 6 weeks before, or 6 months before, I would say, not 6 weeks, 6 months before. But they're going to be there to advise you. But the guys you do a $5 million deal are probably not the same guys you're going to do a $105 million deal with. Just not. Occasionally, 1 or 2 of the board members will be take the ride, the whole ride. But normally they won't. Now, in my particular case, I was either super lucky, fortunate, but I had all the same board members throughout the run. But all the board members were from the governor of New York, et cetera. We had world-class guys. And by no stretch of the imagination, as big as my ego is, I was the weakest fucking link. Other than I could sell and nobody else could. So, and a lot of times sales guys and gals don't get the credit they deserve, but they're the ones that make the rain. And otherwise, without top line, you've got nothing. As Roberto said, he's got to do that, irrespective of whether this is the right one or not the right one. He's got to do that, and it's already in play. And when you get out there, normally what necessitates action like that is a law changed. Something changed where it's forcing your industry or your vertical within that industry to change. Because nobody changes just overnight because they want to. Normally, it's to stay in business, the law change, etc. And then it's all about devil's in the detail. It's all about implementation and execution and actually being able to grind it out. And the fact that in Roberto's case, they've assimilated one acquisition. They just completed a buyout themselves. This is not the ordinary course of business, but it's more ordinary if you've never done a deal. If this, I do not recommend your first deal be cross-border, international. That's a recipe.
Doesn't cash flow.
Pardon?
It doesn't cash flow.
Yeah, it doesn't cash flow. Other than that, it's great, But and that's one of the reasons I tell people to avoid those cross-border deals, because you can never tell. We're going to show a video of a guy who in the Middle East. We're not slamming the Middle East today, but we are slamming the Middle East. And it took him 2.5 years, and it was a $3.9 billion deal, but only 31 million was paid out.
I thought you said that was Malaysia.
Isn't it? Well, not Middle East. Thank you for correcting me. Malaysia, it is Malaysia. Okay, I got a hard on for the fucking ragheads today. Anyway, you're right, it is Malaysia. Pardon? Correct. He now lives in Singapore. You never return to the scene of the crime. Okay, he now lives, and he's also, he's lost 125 pounds too. No, 170 pounds. Excuse me.
Is he living at some luxurious hotel?
Oh yeah, 40,000 square feet. He's still a drunken Aussie. I mean, you can put him in King Farouk's palace, and he's still a drunken Aussie. He just is. But of course now the new until your day comes, the new flavor of the day in Australia is Jason Nagy. And who has, I'm told, some sort of illicit cult following that now the people are, online, because it's no secret that he's been very successful in an environment. And Australia is one of the environments everybody says this couldn't work. It does work. And then when he did it non-recourse and no personal guarantee, it's pretty much terrific. It doesn't get much better than that. And again, for those kids asking me this question on YouTube, non-recourse doesn't mean that you fill your suitcases and trunks and run like a thief in the night. What it means, because the money, the availability of non-recourse money initially was for after World War II, after the Vietnam War, after the Korean War, and third world countries like where they had a lot of problems, like Detroit and parts of Chicago, etc., where there was a high probability that the guys weren't going to make the business go. And why wipe out a whole community, giving them money, knowing that the business is only got a 1 in 5 chance of surviving, so they made the money non-recourse. Where somehow some of the quasi-wannabe crooks on YouTube think that you just load up to the bank with your pickup truck, and they load up the back of your truck and you ride off to Tibet. We've had a couple do that, but that actually are in Tibet. Now tonight we have dinner in the castle, and the drinks are at 7. I'm not going to... Now, you can either break out and work or not, but this is the drill that we're going to have. So in the morning, it'll be breakout going over the cases, and in the afternoon, it'll be the presentation. We may have a webinar, we may not have a webinar. And one of the days we don't have a webinar, I'm going to ask Roberto to get up and tell his story of I was going to say of woe, but it's not of woe, it's of success. And that I still remember when you moved up 20 stories or whatever.
The 63rd floor.
What floor were you on before?
26.
Oh, you're down with a cheap change. Now 26. Now 63rd floor, and that's the view that you got behind. Terrific view he's got up there, and it's a first-class building. And you bought another car.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I still am not. Those cars. What kind of car is it?
A McLaren.
Oh, McLaren now.
Okay. Yeah, 675 LT.
Yeah. But he wasn't poor when I met him. It's a better story. Half-breed, from Guatemala.
I'm Puerto Rican, man. I'm 100% Puerto
Okay,
Rican.
well, no, but hey, it's a better story. Half-breed from Guatemala. You know, what half, other than Guatemala, I don't know what the other half is. You know, it's a better story, but now you're here, see? So yeah, but it's oh, God, how can a kid like that? And I said that he came to the country, he only had 5 pesos in his wallet, and he, you know, I'm like the President Trump. I exaggerated a wee bit. In some cases, I exaggerated it more than a wee bit. But it's like, but the story about Josh with his 15-speed bike, that's the fucking truth. You know, that's all he had, a 15-speed bike. And now he's, you know, racing around the world. Okay, if there's no questions, we will, I'll see you at dinner. And by the way, that gym is open, but it closes at, yeah, so if you're going to use it, now's the time to use it. Okay? And I would prefer you don't box. We had I didn't know this. That's why I mentioned it. Some of the kids, unbeknownst to me, I'm always the last, are in there knocking the shit out of each other. And I want it to be when we have a professional referee, that, you know, so nobody gets hurt. And it's always the nicest people get hurt. It's not the shit bags that ought to get fucking knocked out, you know. And by the way, nice is a 13th, 14th century word, derivative of retarded, mongoloid, idiot. And most of the women, that's a nice woman. That means she was retarded. So, if there's no other questions, we'll see you. What question? Yes.
I thought the deal was $3 billion.
3.9 billion, and he got 31 million.
That's better than the poking the eye with a blunt stick, though, isn't it?
Well, not for a drunken 500-pound Aussie.
30 million.
Yeah, and but he now lives in Singapore. Sally and I had dinner with him when we were in Hong Kong. By the way, I'm not putting down Hong Kong at all, but Sally and I were there. We didn't see one puff of smoke. We're right in between the two big riot areas, supposedly, when you look at Google Map. Yeah. We were on the 85th floor of the Grand Hyatt or something like that, whatever, and we didn't see any. I don't know where they were hiding, but I mean, Hong Kong is in a recession now. They are on their knees. The restaurants that Sally and I went to, albeit they're at the high end, were fucking empty. Our hotel was fucking empty. We would normally have a big suite, but they gave us the fucking ambassador suite. They upgraded us because nobody's staying there.
Isn't the real estate going down as well?
Real estate is going in the toilet, correct? I'm not, you know, Beijing knows what they're doing, or at least they think they know what they're doing. So their agenda is clearly, at least at this juncture, they don't give a fuck about the people, the kids, and it's mostly kids from Hong Kong are complaining about. And as I understand it, the kids only want them to go back. What the agreement was that they made with the Brits, and I don't think that's going to happen.
When were you there?
4 weeks ago. 4.5 weeks ago. And but anyways, Simon came in to have dinner with us, and another one of my Asian mentees who's in the mining business, and who also coincidentally lives in Singapore. But Hong Kong is a great place to visit now if you don't want traffic. If you don't, I mean, but it's fucking empty. Empty. I mean, all the years that they groomed that to be the financial. But it's not part of the 200 or 300 year plan. Chinese have a 200-year plan, a 300-year plan, and we want you to report earnings in a quarter. I mean, so it's tough unfortunately a kid got killed again in the last couple of days, shot. I'm surprised more people haven't been shot because
It's this. That's why.
Oh yeah.
Between now and Tiananmen Square.
Yeah.
This.
Yeah. I'm sure that's correct. And but anyway, they were great to Sally and myself, and you know, no crowds. Go to the bar. I like a few people in the bar. Fuck, you know, but they're up there singing. You know, up there, and there's Sally and I, and an old drunken Scotsman sitting there who's trying to keep his head out of his drink, and that was the bar, you know. And so I said, Sally, we're going to go back. She says, we'll go back the second night. Same old guy, you know. So the third night we went to another bar, another hotel. But okay, if no questions, we'll see you tonight for drinks at 7. Thank you. And don't hurt yourself in the gym if you go.